Namaskar and welcome to this exciting episode of Sattology Debunking Mythology. Sat means truth, Logos means a study or science, Sattology means science of truth, study of truth. Mythology, on the other hand, means science of myth or a fake lie imagination or study of fake lie imagination. The most of the Western Christian colonialists coined this term mythology to oppose the truth from the Vedic literatures or the Vedic Itihas. And while doing so, they wanted to destroy the faith of billions of practitioners of Sanatana Dharma, commonly known as Hindutva or Hinduness. And that's why it has happened. And if you look at the colonial history, as I'm recording it more and more, the entire ancient history of Philippines has gone because the church made it illegal to practice the native Filipino culture. And the church also made it illegal to practice native Brazilian culture, native Mexican culture, native South American culture. This was either you're killed or thrown out of the country on a boat with no direction. That was the condition of those who did not follow the church. And I'm not attacking anyone, but I'm just stating the facts because that's what we do at Sattology. And we are only focused on history. So another biggest, and we have seen in the first part of this presentation, was the eras. They changed the eras. Today, roughly it is estimated that 600 years of history of Bharat has been thrown out by some of these people. 600 years of history has been thrown out. Anyway, we have the right to correct it and say it openly. So without delay, let us welcome Dr. M.L. Raja with the Eras Part 2, the history of Eras Part 2. So Dr. Raja, can you tell me one thing, since you have done research on this, why do you think these eras were so grossly mistranslated? Because either they did not know Sanskrit or it was a deliberate attempt to mistranslate them.
Both are there. Because first thing I can give an example. In Matsya Purana, in the 273rd Adhyaya, in the 38th sloka, the sloka is Saptasyas Tata Pramsu Pradiptena Agnina Samava. That is the sloka, Agnina Sama. That means Agnina Sama is a third vibhakti. So whenever you compare one thing, you have to use third vibhakti in Sanskrit. So Agnina is the third vibhakti of Agnihi. Okay. So this shows that Saptarishi Mandala, that is Great Beard constellation, was glowing like Agni. It is only a comparison. But Pargeter, how he translated into that Saptarishi Mandala was stayed in Agni. That means Agni is the preceding deity of Kritika Nakshatra. So it stayed in Kritika Nakshatra. It is only a comparison, but he converted into staying, abiding. Like that he wrongly translated. So there is, they don't know, they couldn't understand the exact meaning of Sanskrit and Sanskrit Vyakarana, that is grammar. And second thing is, there is a motive. Because they strongly believed in James User's chronology. 1656, and at the time he mentioned that the world was created in 4004 BCE, October 28th by God. So any history could not go beyond that. We have told Great Deluge, Ice Age for 2000 years. So human history cannot go 2000 BC. That is from here 4024 years, not before that. So they strongly believed it. So within that, they have to make everything fit with that. They cannot say that Mahabharata happened 5000 years before, because human history cannot go beyond 4000 years. So for that, and also they want to seed inferiority complex in Indians so that they can think Westerners as a higher personalities or superior personalities. Then only they can continue to rule India. So divide and rule, and to seed inferiority complex, and the strong belief of same users chronology, and misunderstanding, not correct, and without having any proper knowledge of Sanskrit. These are all the reasons. Based on that, they reduce the Indian chronology, Indian antiquity by at least 620 or 50 years. Sometimes 1300 years also. When you compare Chandragupta Maurya, he actually ruled in 15th century, but he was pushed forward to 3rd century. So 1250 years to 620 years, the antiquity was reduced. These are all the reasons.
No, you are absolutely right, because one of the things which has happened is they also tried to create a divide. So India, Bharat is one nation. It doesn't matter
Yes.
whether you speak Telugu or Tamil or Hindi or Sanskrit, whatever language you speak. The mother of all of us is the ancient Sanskrit language. All of us, and we all write Devanagari or Brahmi, whatever scripts we have written, and it was prevalent from Bharat, from Afghanistan to Vietnam. Like, that's a large spread of land we have, and you can see the culture is same whether you go anywhere. And gradually it was broken up and divided India, Dravidian versus Aryan, whereas Aryan we all know now. Aryans went from India to civilize the rest of the world. It was not the reverse way true. And German scholars, very famous German scholars, said it, that our mother, our fathers are from Bharat. They said it very openly. It was the British who mistranslated it, said no, the Aryan religion theory, because they wanted to justify 1857 revolt, and they wanted to say that it was we are your fathers, so that this doesn't happen. So let's begin with the today's presentation on part 2 on eras. And so please, you can start sharing the slides and continue. Would you like to add something to that there is no such thing as Aryan versus Dravidians? Because even the South Indian will be called an Aryan if he follows Bhagavad Gita or Veda.
No, see, they are saying Ravana is Dravidian.
Right.
But Mandodari called Ravana as Aryaputra.
Aryaputra, that's right.
Rama.
Yes.
Ramayana.
Yes.
See, and Ravana is the grandson of Pulastya Maharishi.
Pulastya Rishi, that's right.
And they told Dravida are black, Arya white.
White.
But they called Rama as Arya, but he is black. They called Ravana as Dravida, but he is white. So, see, basically, Arya is a terminology to respect,
exactly,
to denote the quality of a person.
That's right. He's like a well-educated man.
Well-educated man. See, if you call somebody as Arya, as if we are calling somebody as Sar now.
Yes, right. That's it.
We cannot say Sar is a race.
Yes, right.
It is entirely wrong to call Sar that denotes a race. So, like that, Arya. And Dravida, our Bharat nation is divided into 2 geographical parts.
That's right.
Northern part of beyond Vindhya is Panchagauda, and southern part below Vindhya, southern to Vindhya, is Panchadravida.
Correct.
In that Gurjara, Maharashtra, and Andhra and Karnataka, Panch part is the Dravida. That includes Tamil Nadu and Kerala.
That's right.
So Bengal is known as Gauda. So there is a Gauda Sampradaya. And last week I told last position, there is a Gauda Pada, who is the Guru's Guru of Adi Shankara.
That's right.
So because he came from Gauda Desha. So Gauda and Dravida are geographical name. It is not racial.
Correct.
You should understand basically. Without understanding this, you cannot understand India properly.
That's right, sir. Let's continue with today's talk. Okay. Let's continue. Yeah.
So, namaskar to everybody. I wholeheartedly express my thanks to Aditya ji, Sattology team, and also the eminent personalities, professors and scholars, and the students who are going to listen my lecture on Indian eras, second part. Last lecture, I have explained the Yudhishthira Saka, Kali Yuga and Jayabhyuda Yudhishthira Saka, Saptarishi era and Laukika era, Malava Ganasaka, Saka Kala, that is Cyrus era, and Sri Harsha era. That, up to that, I have explained in detail. Now I am going to narrate about the Gupta era, Vikrama Samvat, Salivagana era, Ganga Samvat, Kollam era, Vikrama Salukya era, and Kochi day. These things I am going to deal now. The first one is Gupta era. This Gupta era began on the commencement, on the beginning of Gupta rule. That is from the coronation of Chandragupta, Gupta I, the first Chandragupta of Gupta dynasty, as the king of Magadha, and he defeated last king of Andhra Sadavagana. That was the end of the rule of Andhra Sadavagana dynasty and the beginning of the Gupta dynasty on Magadha kingdom. And we can see as per Matsya, Vayu and Brahmanda Purana, they clearly showed that from Mahabharata war, Brihadrada dynasty ruled for 1000 years. That is, Jarasantha was the ruler of Magadha, and he was defeated by Bhima, Arjuna and Sri Krishna. After that, Sakadeva, his son Sakadeva became the ruler. Krishna appointed him, but he fought in Mahabharata war and he was murdered. So his son became the first king after Mahabharata war. From him, 22 kings in Brihadrada dynasty ruled for 1000 years. And then Pradyodha dynasty, 5 kings, they ruled for 138 years. And then comes the Shishunaga dynasty, in which 362 years ruled, in which the Ajatasattu and Bimbisara, who were contemporary to Gautama Buddha, they ruled. So these 3 dynasties ruled for 1500 years. After Shishunaga dynasty, Mahabhatmananda became king. That is the beginning of Nanda dynasty. What this Purana mentioned that from Mahabhatmananda to Parikshit, there is a gap of time interval of 1500 years. That was mentioned in this Purana clearly. Even we can see the individual period of 3 dynasties that also make up 1500 years. So it corroborates with each other. And this Purana mentions from Mahabhatmananda to Andhra Sadavagana dynasty beginning, there is an 836 years. It is given exactly. And Andhra Sadavagana rule was for 460 years. So if we add up all these things, then from Parikshita Maharaja to beginning of Gupta dynasty, there is a time interval of 2796 years. This is one part of calculation. The second part is, in the same Purana, they have to confirm it. So they give additional reference that from Parikshita to Andhra rule, the Saptarishi will cross 27 nakshatra. That was also given. So Saptarishi Mandala stay 100 years in each nakshatra. So 27 nakshatra they cross means it is 2700 to 2800 years. So this also 2796 years. This is 2700 to 2800 years. So both corroborative with each other and it is correct. So the Gupta dynasty began 2796 years from the date of Mahabharata war. Mahabharata war, we know it was fought at least 36 years before Kali Yuga beginning. And through my inscriptional evidence, we have proved that Kali Yuga began in 3101 BC. So based on that, if you calculate, Gupta dynasty had began around 342 BCE. But what we taught in our history textbooks, Gupta dynasty ruled from 320 AD to 500. That is entirely wrong based on Purana. So what Aditya ji told is correct. There are 600 years of pushing forward of our antiquity. These are all the Adhyaya. You can verify Matsya Purana, Brahmanda Purana, Vayu Purana. These are all the Adhyaya. And Vishnu Purana and Srimad Bhagavatam mentioned in the same way. Kali Yuga Rajavardhana in detail express all these things. When dealing with Saptarishi era, I have explained the details of Kali Yuga Rajavardhana. And if there is any inscriptional evidence to prove that Gupta era began in 325 BC, yes, there are inscriptions. So this inscription is Chandrapura in the Avanti area, that is Malava kingdom area, on the steps leading to a river, close to the temple of Shiva. The date is mentioned as Malavanam Ganasthitiya Sada Sadustaye. That means Sada Sadustaye means 400. Sada is 100, Sadu is 4, so 400. Navathi, that means 93. So Malavanam Ganasaka 493. I have already explained Malava Ganasaka. Who was the king who issued, or the subordinate ruler who issued this inscription is Bandhuvarman, who is son of Vishwavarma. Who is Bandhuvarma? He is the governor of Dasapura. Who appointed him as a governor? That is Kumaragupta of Gupta dynasty. Who is Kumaragupta? He is the fourth ruler in the Gupta dynasty. First person is Chandragupta Gupta I, whose other name is Vijayaditya. Then comes the Samudragupta, whose other title name is Asoka Aditya. You should note this point. He was also called as Asoka. And Chandragupta II, whose name is Vikramaditya. Again, another Vikramaditya kid. And Kumaragupta is a Mahendraditya. So he is the fourth ruler. So this shows that Malava Ganasaka, we already proved that it began in 725 BCE. So it shows that Kumaragupta period is 232 BCE. The fourth ruler period is 232 BCE, means then this Gupta era should begin in 325 or 345 BCE. It definitely proves that Gupta ruling period is from 325 to 100 BCE. It is not from 320 AD to 550 or AD. It is entirely wrong. So that is the thing. Through this inscription. This is the inscription. I thank Indian Antiquity, volume 15. In that, everything is given detail from 196 page onwards. And another inscription, another proof for Gupta era at 300 BC, around 300 BC. This is Mandasore inscription. Mandasore is a place from Ujjain to Kota of Rajasthan. That road it is there. It is given in Malava Samvat 524, issued by Dadda Bada, who is the commander-in-chief of Prabhakara, who was the Sanapati of Govinda Gupta. Who is Govinda Gupta? He was the son of Chandragupta II of Gupta dynasty. So after Chandragupta II, Kumaragupta became king. He may be his brother, younger brother, Govinda Gupta. So during his Govinda Gupta period, Prabhakara was the Sanapati to Govinda Gupta period. Then what is the date of this Mandasore inscription? It is 201 BCE. So the fourth ruler is around 201 BCE, means definitely Gupta era began in 325 BCE, around that. So this also proves the Gupta period around 300 BCE. It is given in Epigraphy Antica volume 27. This is the inscription. I thank ASI for the copying this inscription. And directly Gupta Samvatsara is mentioned by Skanda Gupta. Skanda Gupta is the son of Kumara Gupta. His other title is Parakrama Gupta. So it is Gupta Rajya Samvat 141st year. It is given in Epigraphy Antica volume 33. I thank ISI for the photograph. So another inscription, Kumara Gupta, in the Gupta year 154. It is a Buddha image inscription at Saranath. Saranath, we know it is in Madhya Pradesh. It is given in the Imperial Gupta inscriptions, written by Prithvi K. Agarwala. I thank Book Asia and Agarwala for using this photograph. This shows Gupta year 154. So there are many inscriptions, more than 1,000 inscriptions on Gupta year, and also there are more than 20 inscriptions on Malava Ganasaka. After that, 10 will prove Gupta period around 300 BCE. Then coming to the most important era, that is Vikrama Samvat. We are still following in our almanac in India. It is started by the famous king Vikramaditya of Ujjain. He came in the Pramara dynasty, whose Veda is Samaveda. And Vikramaditya had the title as Sri Garsha. I have explained it when I deal about Sri Garsha era. And Kalidasa, he mentioned in Jyotir Vidabharanam, in this Adhyaya and this Sloka, that he wrote the text in the year 3068 Kali Yuga. That is 33 BCE. So definitely Kalidasa period is 1st century BC. And in another sloka in the same Adhyaya, Kalidasa mentioned the Kalidasa, Varakimikara, Dhanvantri, Amarashimma, and Sanku, and many scholars, that is Navaratna, were in the Rajesh Sabha of this Vikramaditya. Then this shows that Vikramaditya, Varagimira, and Kalidasa, all three lived around 30th century of Kali Yuga, that is 1st century BC. That is additional proof for this. And one more proof is, the most important proof is, in Jyotirvidha, I have already explained the precision of equinox in my lecture on Ramayana and Sri Lanka. So what we scientists, modern scientists, thought that equinox is not stable. It is receding backwards by 50.29 seconds per year. That is known as precision of equinox. In Indian astronomy, it is called Ayanamsa. And when Ayanamsa is 0, that means the vernal equinox exactly coincides with Mesha, that is Aries 0 degree. So Kalidasa mentioned in this same Jyotirvidhaparanam, in this first Adhyaya 18th sloka, there is 0 degree Ayanamsa in 445th Saka. So Kalidasa lived in 1st century BC. At that time, Salivagana Saka had not begun. So it is definitely the Cyrus era, Saka Kala. We know Cyrus era began in 550 BCE. I have explained all these things based on Varagimira's Brigat Samhita and other evidences. So 445 Saka means 105 BCE. So at 105 BCE, there is 0 degree Ayanamsa. That was the statement by Kalidasa in Jyotirvidhaparanam. And what Varagimira mentioned about that in his Brihat Samhita, he mentioned in this third Adhyaya, 2nd and 3rd sloka, that during his period, Uttarayana began when the sun was at the beginning of Makara zodiac sign, that is 270 degree, and Dakshinayana began when the sun was at the beginning of Karkadaga zodiac sign, that is 90 degree. That means vernal equinox is at 0 degree. So there is 0 degree Ayanamsa. Already we have seen Varagimira, Kalidasa, and Vikramaditya lived in 1st century BCE. And Kalidasa mentioned that 0 degree Ayanamsa is 105 BCE. That's why Varagimira mentioned that during his period, because he lived in 1st century BCE, so he mentioned that there is 0 degree Ayanamsa. So both texts, Varagimira and Kalidasa, both their texts are corroborative each other, and they definitely prove that Vikramaditya, Kalidasa, and Varagimira lived in the 30th century of Kali, that is 1st century BC. Then coming to Bhavishya Purana, another evidence for Vikrama Samvat. In this, this is the sloka number. It mentioned that King Pramara, who started his Pramara dynasty in which Vikramaditya was born, he started his dynasty at Ujjain in the 2710th year of Kali Yuga. So that is the date given in Kali Yuga. We know when Kali Yuga began based on inscriptions. And then the same Bhavishya Purana, in this sloka, it mentions that King Vikramaditya, who was born in this dynasty and who started Vikrama Samvat at 57 BCE, was born in 3000, exactly 3000 year of Kali Yuga. That is 101 BCE. So that also proved 57 BCE is correct. He born in 101 BCE, and at the age of 58, he started his era. That is the thing. And the most important thing is, last time we tell about more about Kalaganas, Raja Tarangani, and Pradapa Aditya. Now I mentioned the repeat of the same thing. First Taranga mentions that Gonanda won. His son Damodara won. They were engaged in fight with Pandava and Sri Krishna, and they were eliminated. So at that time, Damodara's wife Yasovati was pregnant. So Sri Krishna made Yasovati, because Kashmir is a land of Parvati and Shiva. So Yasovati could rule that area. So Sri Krishna advised Yasovati to rule Kashmir, and her son was Gonanda too. He was Sishu, that is infant at the time of Mahabharata war. So the Kashmir kingdom didn't participate in Mahabharata war. In the same Kalhana's Rajatarangani mentioned an important historical event and interesting historical event in the third Taranga between Sloka 125 to 320. What it mentions is, after Pravarasena won, his two sons, one is Hiranya and another one is Toramana. Hiranya became the king and Toramana became the Yuvaraja. At that time, Toramana issued coins in his name with his figure. So this made Hiranya, the brother, elder brother, got irritated and angry. So he put Toramana in prison. So because of the fear of anger of Hiranya, Toramana's wife and son went away from the capital and they went to some area and they resided in a potter's hut. The potter's wife looked after them. So Toramana's son was there, but nobody knows where he is. And at the time, Vikramaditya of 57 BC was the Yaga Chakravarti. He is the ruler of whole India. Suddenly, Hiranya died without any issues. He has no child. So, Toramana also died in prison. Hiranya was died issueless. And where about the Toramana's son also nobody knows. So, at the time, there is nobody is to rule Kashmir. Because Vikramaditya was the ruler of whole India, it is his responsibility to appoint somebody as king. So the Kashmir ministers requested him to appoint somebody as king, and he sent an order in a coil. On that day, they will write it in a skin and in a cloth, and they will roll it and put it in a cylinder and close it with a seal and send as a king's order to the Kashmir kings. At that time, Gupta was a poet. He heard about 6 months before he heard about the greatness of Vikramaditya. So he came to Ujjain and he wanted to serve Vikramaditya. He dutifully served Vikramaditya for 6 months, sincere, dedicated servant. But Vikramaditya didn't recognize him. At times he lose heart also. But anyhow, he managed, he continued his obedient service to Vikramaditya. When he, after sending a order to the Kashmir kings, next day Vikramaditya called Gupta and again gave an order, rolled within a cylinder and sealed, and asked Gupta to hand it over to the Kashmir ministers without opening it. So Gupta told, even he didn't recognize here also. He is throwing away from this kingdom to some unknown place, Kashmir. Anyhow, it is king's order. I got to obey. He told, I will not open. I will not open. I would hand it over to ministers. So he went there to Kashmir, and Kashmir ministers received him, and he handed over the order to Kashmir ministers. And they asked, are you Gupta? Yes, I am the Gupta, sent by King Vikramaditya. Then you are appointed, you are selected by Vikramaditya as our king. So you occupy the throne and rule us like that. They requested. Gupta didn't expect that. So a common ordinary poet was appointed by Vikramaditya as a king because of his obedient and sincere service for 6 months. So Gupta became very grateful to Vikramaditya and ruled that kingdom continuously for nearly 5 years. Meantime, this Toramana's wife's brother, one day he spotted this Toramana's son, and he traced him and he found out this sister and sister's son. So he told this sister and the brother told everything about Toramana's death, and also he was a legitimate ruler of this kingdom to Toramana's son. His name is Pravarasena II, his grandfather's name. So he started moving to capital with a small army so that he can capture that and he can become a king of that Kashmir. When he started and journeyed to some distance, at that time Matrigupta came to know that Vikramaditya has passed it. So Vikramaditya went to heaven. So he thought, my master has gone. So what is point of ruling this country? So I will abdicate this throne, this kingship, and I will go to Varanasi to do tapas. In that way, he thought, and he abdicated the throne. But when before leaving Kashmir, this Toramana's son, Pravarasena, met him. And why you decided to do like that? Because I have no dharmic right to rule this country. Because my master, who has given me this country to rule, ordered me as passed away. So I have no attachment. I don't want any this luxury life, any kingdom, any kingmanship, anything I don't want. Because I am in the memory of Vikramaditya, I want to tapas in Varanasi. So this Pravarasena, Toramana's son, requested him, no, Vikramaditya has given you this kingdom. So you are the right ruler because you have the high qualities, the dharmic qualities within you. So you should be the king. Like that, Pravarasena one requested him. But Matrigupta requested him, you are the legitimate right holder of this kingdom. So you should become king. So there is a weirdly exchange between both them, but nobody is accepting to accept the kingdom. Finally, Matrigupta strongly told, so no other go, Pravarasena accepted the kingdom. On those days, that is the nature of these people, to abide dharma, not money, power, wealth, everything. And Pravarasena requested, I will hand over all the treasure, all the wealth of this Kashmir kingdom to you, because it belongs to you. Matrigupta told him, I don't want anything. I am a sannyasi. Why? For what can I do with this wealth? But it is my request. It is a compulsory order from the king. So you should accept all the wealth. So that wealth was given to Matrigupta. With that wealth, he went to Varanasi to do tapas and he donated all the wealth to poor people. And he led the life of 10 years by getting food from the houses, by baking food. So, like a sannyasi, he lived. So, though he got every wealth, he donated everything to others. So, and he led such a life. So, in India, not only two class people are there, haves and have-nots. There are another class of people. They had everything, but they donated everything, including their personal life, knowledge, everything to the society. That was the life led by Matrigupta, Vikramaditya, and Pravarasena. They are great people who lived in India 2000 years before. So Matrigupta was the 80th ruler from Gonanda II. Gonanda II, we know that he was a Sishu during the period of Mahabharata war, and we know the Mahabharata date based on Kali Yuga inscriptions. So 3801 years ruled by 79 kings, that is 39 years for average ruling period of each king. So it is highly acceptable. So it confirms that King Vikramaditya period is 1st century BCE and Mahabharata period at 3138 BCE and Vikrama Samvat began in 57 BCE. These are the literature and inscriptional evidence for Vikrama Samvat at 57 BC. And another evidence is, literature evidence is, for Vikrama Samvat, Kalidasa and Jyotir Vidhaparanam in the 10th Adhyaya, that is Raja Saddhatyaya, mentioned that after Yudhishthira Saka, Vikrama Samvat began 3044 years. So that means 57 BCE exactly, because we proved that Yudhishthira Saka, Jayabhyuti Yudhishthira Saka began in, that is Kali Yuga began in 3101 BCE through Kali Yuga inscriptions. So in many almanacs, all almanacs in our nation follow, in any language, they follow Vikrama Samvat from 3044 Kali. And there are more than 10,000 inscriptions that prove Vikrama Samvat began in 57 BCE. Because all these 10,000 inscriptions express their period in Vikrama Samvat. So we know the regnal period, ruling period of those kings who issued these inscriptions by literature sources and other sources. So based on that, if you calculate, it will point to one date, that is 57 BC. In that way also it proves that Vikrama Samvat began in 57 BC. This is an Idar Museum inscription at Gujarat. It mentions two era, Kali 4300 and Vikrama Samvat 1256. That is, the year of the inscription is 1199 Common Era. And the most important inscription is stone inscription at Sri Hanuman Temple in Jaisalmer in Rajasthan. That is the westernmost city of Rajasthan is Jaisalmer. There is a Hanuman temple and there is an inscription. This inscription is detailed in the Journal of Royal Asiatic Society of Great Britain and Ireland for 1911. What it mentions that this inscription is dated on the 4898th year of Yudhishthira, 1854th year of Vikramarka, and 1719 years of Salibhagana. If you calculate that from Yudhishthira to Vikrama, 3044 years, what Kalidasa mentioned exactly given in this inscription. See, exact, not even a single year difference. And Yudhishthira to Salibhagana, that is 3179. With this, we can verify with the astronomical texts of our nation. Here also, there is not even a single year difference. And Vikrama to Salibhagana, 135 years. So, this is also, this inscription is reported in this book by R. Sridhar R. Bhandarkar, published in 1907, Inscriptions at Jaisalmer. I thank S.R. Bhandarkar to use this image. In this Mukam Karvati in praise of Sri Krishna, see, you can see Swasti Sri Yudhishthirasya 4898, Gade Vikramarka Rajat Samvat 1854, Salivagana Saka Sake 1719, Uttarayana Gate. That is in the Uttarayana period. So this also proves that Vikrama Samvat began in 57 BCE and Salivagana Saka began in 78 BC AD. That is the thing it is proved. Then coming to the next era, Salivagana Saka. He is the grandson of Vikramaditya. Vikramaditya and Salivagana both known as Sakari because they defeated the Saka people. I have explained who were Saka in the explanation about this Saka era, that is Saka called Cyrus era. They are the outcasted Kshatriyas of Indian origin. They settled in Parasika and other places. They were defeated by Vikramaditya and also Salivagana. He started his, that's why they are both are famous. So he started his Salivagana era in Kali 3179 years, that is 78 Common Era. It was mentioned in Vadeshwara Siddhanta, Sishyadi Viridhita Tantra of Lallacharya, Mahabhaskariyam and Laghu Bhaskariyam of Bhaskara, and also by Brahmaspada Siddhanta of Brahmagupta and Siddhanta Siromani of Bhaskaracharya. These are all the sloka number. So they prove that Salivagana Saka began in 3179 Kali Yuga. And Kalidasa's Jyotirvidaparanam, I have already explained that Salivagana Saka began in 3179 years after Jayapyudaya Yudhishthira Saka, as per this reference. And there are more than 20,000 inscriptions that were dated in Salivagana Saka. At least 20,000. It may be 30 or 40,000. So in these inscriptions, the ruling period of the kings and dynasties were mentioned. So through that, we can prove that Salivagana Saka began in 78 Common Era. So it is a corroborative and strong evidence. And through this astronomical evidence and also Kalidasa Jyotirvidaparanam and Jaisalmer inscription, we can prove that Salivagana Saka began in 3179 BCE. Through that, it proves that Kali Yuga began in 310 BCE. So that is an important inscription. There are more than 20,000 inscriptions are there. We are going to collect all these inscriptions and again write a book on that. So this is an important inscription. This I explained in my first lecture, Bhavani inscription. It mentions Kali Yuga, Salivagana, and also Common Era date, 11th January 1804. So through this, we can prove that Salivagana Saka began in 78 Common Era and Kali Yuga began in 310 BC. This I already explained. So this is the importance of Salivagana Saka, and it is proved by beyond doubt by literature and epigraphic evidence that it began in 78 Common Era. there were two Ganga Vamsa. I am going to deal about Ganga era. There are two Ganga Vamsa in India. One is Eastern Ganga Vamsa, that they ruled Kalinga, that is Odisha, and southern part of Vanga, that is Bengal. Usually in Tamil, it is mentioned as Ba. When it goes to north, it becomes Ba. And northeastern part of Andhra Pradesh. This area is known as Kalinga. And another one is Western Ganga, who ruled around Mysore area, that is southern part of Karnataka. So there are two Ganga Vamsa in India, we should know it. And this Ganga era was started by Eastern Ganga Vamsa, that is Indrasena. He is the first king of this Eastern Ganga Vamsa. And many inscriptions are available. And the assumed date is, so far it has not been thoroughly researched. So what now the scholars mention is, it may be started around 400th year of Salivavana Saka. That was mentioned. We have to do some research on this Ganga era. And there are inscriptions on Ganga era, many hundred inscriptions are there. This is Sika cold plate of Satyavarman, who was came in the Indravarman's dynasty. Sika cold Kanjam district in Odisha. And it is centuries in Ganga Samvatsara, 51st year. I thank Indian Antiquary, volume 16, for using this photograph. And another era is Kollam era. Kollam is a city in Kerala. That is southernmost part of India. That is a separate state. Malayalam is the mother tongue of that state. Adjacent to Tamil Nadu, west to Tamil Nadu. This Kollam area became independent when 825 Common Era. In 825 Common Era, it became an independent kingdom. So this Kerala people, Malayali people started enjoying that. So they started Kollam era on that area. Whenever we become independent, we will be happy, no? So they started enjoying that. And they started on era. Mahaganasaka, Malavaganasaka also started like that only. Kollam era 825. And it is followed in Kerala state fully, and also southern part of Tamil Nadu state. Because somebody, Sara people, Sara kings would have ruled that area. So there are inscriptions in Kollam era also, many, nearly 100 inscriptions, more than 100. And one of the important is Sankara Nayanar Koil inscription. It is at Gomadi Amman Shrine in Sankara Nayanar Koil in Tenkasi in Tamil Nadu state. It mentions three era, Kaliyuga, Saka era and Kollam era. And through that we can prove that Kollam era began in 825 Common Era. And there are literature records for that also, that it began in 825 Common Era. Then Chalukya Vikrama Samvat. In the history of India, there are at least 4 Vikramaditya. I have already told Sri Harsha era, who has a title name is Vikramaditya. And the second person is also has the title name Vikramaditya. I explained when I explained about Gupta era. That is, Samudra Gupta has the title as Vikramaditya. That we should mind. So, we should not confuse. Because Samudra Gupta ruled around 300 BC. So, he is between Sri Harsha and the Vikramaditya Puja. That we should understand. And the third person is the Vikramaditya of 57 BC, what our almanacs mentioned. And he started his era from 57 BC. And the fourth one is the Chalukya Vikrama. He is a Chalukya king, Vikramaditya VI, Western Chalukya dynasty ruler, who ruled from Kalyani. See, Western Chalukya dynasty, there are two parts. First part is earlier part that ruled from 600 to 800 AD. They have the capital at Vadabi, Bhatami in northern India, they call this. In southern India, we call it as Vadabi. That's why the Vadapi Kunda Narasimha. They will compare with Agastya. Agastya also killed Vadapi. So like that they compare. And the second part ruled after 950 AD to 1200. And they ruled from Kalyani, their capital. So this is the Vikramaditya VI is the king of this Western Chalukya dynasty who ruled from Kalyani. And he is a great king and great warrior, and he won many battles. So he started his era in the year 1077 Common Era. There are many inscriptions issued by him with this Chalukya Vikram Samvat. And also the later kings of this dynasty, they also dated their period in this era. More than 100 inscriptions are there. And finally, the Kochi date. Initially, Chera kingdom. There are 3 or 4 important kingdoms in Tamil Nadu. We can say Chera, Chola, Pandya, and Pallava. We can include Pallava also. This Chera kingdom is the western part of Tamil Nadu. Tamil Nadu is a southern state in India. So they have a capital at Karur Vanji and also Kodungallur. Karur Vanji is in Tamil Nadu near Erode or Trichy, and they have a harbor at Musiri. Musiri is situated on the bank of River Periyar. When Periyar unites with the sea, they submerge with the sea. At that place, the port of Musiri is there, the harbor is there. But in the year 1341, there was a heavy flooding in River Periyar. So this port, this harbor was totally destroyed. So the people changed their harbor from Musiri to Kochi. So that day was deliberated as a era. So this era was started in 1341, and from that Kochi date is given, Kochi era is given. And this inscription, Urakam inscription in Kerala, Trichur Taluk, it mentions Kochi date 110 and also Kali days 16,62,542. So they express their number of days in elapsed since the beginning of Kali Yuga. Exactly. So this proves that our ancestors knew time calculation, calendar calculations, and also they know the number of years per year, a number of days per year. So this proves that Kochi date. So coming to conclusion, 2 or 3 points I want to highlight. So far we have seen more than 12 era. All these era strongly prove that the ancestors of India knew time calculation and had an exact and excellent and correct calendar system. Since Mahabharata, I started the era from Yudhishthira up to Kochi date. So through various periods I have compared. So you can see there is no change. Even for more than 4,500 years, there is no change in any alteration made in era calculation. You can compare it with Western system, European calendar system. Initially, they changed to Julian calendar on 46 BCE. At the time, the year had 445 days. And also this Gregorian calendar, where October 4th is converted, 5th is converted into October 15th. So how many times they changed, we don't know, because of their defective calculation. But in India, our ancestors knew exact calculation, time calculation, calendar system, and they know exactly how many days per year. So there is no alteration. So they know exactly and correctly, and there is a correct calendar system and excellent calendar system in India. And these details and periods which I explained, they strongly prove the historical events and their dates are mentioned as mentioned in ancient texts and inscription are absolutely correct. These things they proved by Indian eras. For example, Mahabharata war date around 3138 BCE, Kali Yuga at 3101 BCE, Adi Shankara at 509 BCE, Gupta period around 325 BCE, Vikramaditya, Kalidasa, Varagi Mera in 1st century BCE, Salivagana Saka in 1st century Common Era, to highlight some examples. So that is a strong proof that what are all described in literature and inscriptions, they are absolutely correct. And the third point we want to note is the I have explained how I compared various eras. During description of one era, I recollected this other era. So these various eras and all the historical events, we can see that there is interlink. So every historical event in India is interlinked, interconnected, and interwoven. Nothing is separate. So we cannot push forward or push backward any single historical event separately. That includes date of Mahabharata war also. And the another 3 or 4 points I want to mention is, first of all, the resource materials to rewrite or to write exactly the historical chronology of our nation, India. The resource materials is vast and huge. It is not only vast and huge. Another point is they were in more than 20 languages, and each language have different multiple scripts. For example, Tamil. Rajaraja Sola's script is different from Pallava script. There is Tamil Grantha. That is Pandya Tamil Grantha is different from Pallava Grantha. And there is Vatteluthu. And Tamil letters also change. And Brahmi is another letter. Tamil Brahmi is there. Sinhala Brahmi is there. So for each language, there are 3 or 4 scripts. More than 20 languages and multiple scripts are there. So one person cannot master all these things. So all these vast and huge resource material should be read and thoroughly analyzed. Then only we can come to a correct conclusion. So a dedicated, sincere and hard work is the absolute necessity to rewrite Indian history. And our nation, India, is vast, very vast country, highly populated country. There are more than 50 dynasties ruling various periods of India at a particular point of time. So we have to collect all these materials and we have to research. And the third thing is the antiquity of India. It is also much high. Even if we calculate from Mahabharata period, it is at least 5,150 years. So multiple languages, resource materials is abundant and vast nation, and the antiquity also much high. So it is my humble opinion that one single person, however much is his ability and knowledge, he cannot do it even if he devotes his entire lifetime. So a teamwork is the only solution that we should keep in mind. So what is to be done? With that I conclude. Yes, teamwork should be there. And teamwork means who are working for nation without for name, fame, power and money. That should be important. And the collection of all resource materials in all languages of India. And we have to study and analyze all the data. And we should have expertise knowledge, usage from history scholars, Sanskrit Pandits, and scholars of all Indian languages, archaeologists, epigraphists, experts in numismatics, geologists, and oceanography experts, and many fields. So it is a multi and interdisciplinary work. That is the thing we needed. After that only we can come to a correct and absolute conclusion in the historical chronology of our nation. After arriving that, our work didn't stop here. Here only our work starts, that we should present it in national and international forums and also with the government, so that Aditya ji expressed in the last meeting that the Indian universities should change. Only if we do all these things, Indian universities should change. They should abide our data. So it will be included in the curriculum of education system and universities of India. With that, I conclude. I wholeheartedly thank Aditya ji, Sattology team, and also the great eminent personalities of who has listened to this lecture. And any doubt in this, they can contact this member and email ID. Thank you. Thank you, Aditya ji.
So one of the questions that comes to the mind after all this era discussion we had, 2 sessions we had, this is the second session.
Okay.
Comes to the mind is that everyone asks this question. It is the Indian historians. Now, most of the Indian historians, official Indian historians of the government of India, they continue to speak about the Western era definitions and try to fit, it's called syncretism, with the Indian eras. How scientific is that mindset, first of all?
See, one thing, don't mistake me. Quoting some example only, I am not hurting anybody. Once one person, on giving a lecture in a university, he told, Ramakrishna Paramahansa didn't went to school. Luckily, he didn't win. That's why he is correct. Like that he told. So what we read in our universities, college education system is Macaulay education system, Thomas Babington Macaulay. So our mindset, not only uh, I can say, including myself, our mindset is highly corrupted with that virus. That virus is Thomas Babington Macaulay. How a computer is corrupted with the virus, in that way it also corrected. So whatever Westerners say, we think it is correct. Without rethinking or analyzing, we absolutely accept it is a correct. So even if a scholar who talk the same thing from America or Canada, it will be easily reach India than a person giving lecture from India. That is the mindset that it will change, but it will change. But we should not get disappointed because of that. We should work, we should hard work. For example, I have discovered 436 inscriptions. After that, many archaeologists told. So what we thought is wrong. We initially thought there are only 5 to 6 inscriptions. So now, on the face you are given, we have to accept. There is no other way. We can change. We should say. So if we hard work and produce actual facts to them, then they will change. That is my opinion. Because inside their heart also, there is patriotism. I believe it. So they are superficially, they are following Western system. And when we give facts, they will change. That is my optimistic opinion, we can say.
Facts are available all over the internet right now.
Yes.
Everybody is talking about it. Facts are always there. I think the courage is lacking. And the second thing is because if India does not change the history, their own history and the definitions, then the West has no idea to change it also.
Yes.
There has to be a contrast. Like if somebody is talking about my history, it is my duty to correct the other person. It's not their history. You understand what I'm saying? Like what is happening in your house, you have to help.
Yes, absolutely.
You know,
we have to keep our house in order.
Our house in order.
It is our duty.
So right now we are talking about trying to ask somebody else, please tell me about my history. This is so foolishness. Okay. And which is happening right now. You know, like somebody, we're trying to ask our neighbor, please tell me if my family is doing okay or not. That's exactly which is happening, you know.
Yes.
You're laughing, I am laughing, because this is exactly what is happening. I'm asking the British and the Americans who have distorted our history to correct my history. So Americans and British are going to say, why should I do it?
Yes, that is the correct.
And also
it is our duty only.
We have a mindset of asking all the time, am I doing the right thing? Am I doing the right thing? Obviously, they're going to say, no, you're not doing the right thing. You're correcting your history. So what do you have to say for that mindset?
See, when I studied in medical college, how my classmates react. I can see the difference in the reaction of the youngsters now. They are more patriotic. They want to change this history, change their future of this nation. They are more attracted to this nation. That is my observation of 30 or 40 years of experience. So this mindset will slowly change. Only thing is, who had knowledge, who had capacity, who had time, who has time, they should work. They should work for the nation without expecting anything in return. If we lead, naturally the students and youngsters will come with us. See, when Subhash Chandra Bose asked everything to donate, people donated during 1945, Second World War. So a good leader, a correct person, if he requests donate time to work for our nation, definitely people will be ready. So only thing we need leaders. That is the thing I say. So somebody to lead, and somebody from where I should start from me. That is the thing I am saying. But the opinion may differ. What Adityaji thing I want to know. You please explain.
So I think the very simple point is like somebody in the education ministry must listen to our present talks and many other talks, and they should
Yes.
work on it. Take a courage, have a courage, do it. Because you and I are talking about it, we are questioning the Western academics, but the Western academics say, see the Indian history also. So they do not realize they are responsible for Indian historians being corrupt, but they will not correct it. So somebody in India has to take courage and say, yes, we are
Sorry to
changing.
interrupt. One scholar has approached education ministry. He requested, I know all these things. And what education ministry of India told, you should approach people. Let the people send mail to me. After that, I will correct.
I think
See, he should analyze facts. If he is correct or not, he should have an expert team. After that, analyzing, he should implement.
this
How
is
can
not
a
a
single person go to every whole nation and approach people and they should send mail? This is not possible.
one like this is not a democratic process here. This is academic process.
Yes,
Because not
yes,
see everybody doesn't have a history interest in history. We know the
yes,
importance of history, but not everybody has. So if you ask 1.4 billion people in India, you will get 1.4 billion different views. And I think it's not a question of getting votes here. It's a
Hmm.
academic correction is a matter of few selected people who can discuss and start demanding corrections. I think anyway, I'll
That I
rest it.
accept. The government initiative should be there.
Should be there. It is a Ministry of
That I
Education's
totally
policy.
accept with you.
So thank you so much, and thank you for all the viewers from USA watching it. And I hope you like it. And also do comment, support, and also join the Sattology movement in asking the right thing. Do not, you don't have to ask, obviously other things are also important, but this is also very important to ask the history textbooks to be corrected. Thank you and namaste.